Due to Hurricane Katrina, the levee failures that flooded New Orleans, and the actions of the Louisiana legislature, New Orleans, 4 years after the storm, has a variegated and sometimes confusing collection of public schools and public school governance. All of the post-Katrina public schools in New Orleans, whether they are a part of the Orleans Parish School Board, the Recovery School District, or independent, charter, or traditional, all have been influenced by the history of public education in this city, and all are part of a grand opportunity to reshape a city by providing quality education for all children. Public education is an anvil upon which a good many hammers have been worn out. A weary New Orleans public school superintendent, William O. Rogers, wrote these words in his 1884 annual report. Then he went on to complain about the impossibility of satisfying all of the personal opinions and educational theories of the many thousands who are interested in the results. Our organized system of public schooling was only 43 years old when William O. Rogers made his comments. It certainly hasn't gotten any easier, as was echoed 100 years later by Dr. Everett Williams, the superintendent in 1991, whose epilogue reads, "There is no issue in our country more complex and more fervently debated than public education, and there is no shortage of opinions on how to educate a child." Many of the issues facing public education 168 years ago, or even 100 years ago, are remarkably similar to those facing schools today. Speaking of the difficulties faced by board members in 1879, Superintendent William O. Rogers observed that it cannot reasonably be expected. That gentleman, having no other interest than the gratuitous discharge of public duties, will be willing to assume positions of directors of public schools, to the neglect of their private affairs, when the only return is to bear the odium of wrongs which they did not create, and which they cannot redress, and to incur responsibilities which they are powerless to meet. Various communities and legislative efforts to improve public education over the years have reshuffled and reconfigured the boards. Sometimes we forget how many variations have been tried. In 1843, the city remained divided into municipalities under one mayor. Each municipality had a recorder who also served as the president of that municipality's council. The mayor, the municipality recorder, and 3 members of the municipality council automatically served as members of the Public Education Board of Directors. In addition, each municipality school, in theory, were managed by 12 of the most intelligent and respectable fellow citizens, individuals selected from the different wards of the city. In other words, each municipality effectively had a school board of 17 members. When Union General Butler and his troops occupied New Orleans in 1862, he issued Military Order No. 6082 to get rid of the cost and redundancy of multiple school boards. In its place, he put a single 5-member Bureau of Education composed of members of his military government, most of whom were involved in public education prior to the war. The mayor, also an appointee of the military authorities during the occupation, chaired the Bureau of Education. In 1864, following another reorganization, the Board of Directors increased from 5 to 16 members. Once again, City Hall continued to exert a tight control over the schools as the mayor and 2 members of the City Council served on the board, and the City Council chose the remaining 13 members. Throughout the period of Reconstruction, political partisans engaged in a nonstop tug-of-war for control of local public education. In August 1865, amidst controversy, the City Council reorganized the board and expanded it to 24 members, with the mayor appointing all 24. Less than a year later, in July 1866, the City Council devised a new school board plan. They kept the 24-member limit, now with city council members choosing all 24 members. During Reconstruction, there was upheaval in almost every aspect of government, and the new state legislature reconfigured the makeup of the board again. The law provided for a board of 11 members. The State Board of Education would control the board by selecting 6 of the 11 members, while the New Orleans City Council appointed the remaining 5. In 1873, the members of the Board of Directors of the Public Schools of New Orleans jumped to 20 members, with the majority of the members still appointed by the State Board of Education. When Reconstruction came to an end in 1877, a new board of 20 members with 4-year terms took over the management of the schools. Local authority was a bit stronger since the City Council could appoint 12 members. The State Board of Education still had a powerful voice in New Orleans public education by appointing 8 members. An all-new board of 20 members was appointed in 1884, and in 1888, the governor began making the 8 state appointments. In 1906, the first time school board elections would give the city's voters and local politics the right and opportunity to elect 17 board members, 1 each from the city's 17 wards. The remaining 3 seats were held by the mayor, Martin Berman, plus the city's comptroller and the city's treasurer. Mayor Berman found that as he helped the schools and created jobs by building schools, his political power grew stronger. He wielded a powerful influence over the public schools through his ward-based political organization. In addition, Mayor Berman sent his children to the public schools, probably the last New Orleans mayor to have the confidence to do so. In 1912, the state legislature took action and dismantled the ward-elected school board and created a 5-member school board to be elected citywide. At the state level, some may have believed that the popular Mayor Berman would no longer be able to control the board with his ward-based political organization, but they were wrong. The New Orleans public schools were officially separated from the city government as a result of constitutional amendments, which gave the school district its own funding source. And in 1916, the title Board of Directors of the Public Schools of Parish of Orleans changed to the more familiar Orleans Parish School Board, and board members were given 6-year staggered terms, so they could not be replaced at one time by political forces associated with one mayoral candidate or another. The change made to the board in 1916 lasted 72 years, until in 1988, a new constitutional amendment provided for a 7-member board, with 5 of the members representing districts and 2 members running citywide. The often changing structure still was not settled, and while the present board configuration continues the 7-member board, it eliminated the at-large seats, creating 7 school board districts, and changed the terms of office to 4-year concurrent terms. Since that time, a whole new set of educational directors can be voted in every 4 years, directly affecting, even shortening, the tenure of superintendents. The city of New Orleans was no longer responsible for establishing, supporting, and maintaining the public schools. Now, without the political clout of City Hall, the school board had to stand in a political arena and face its political problems alone, and members had to find ways to fund their own political campaigns, a probable source of conflict and competition among board members that has nothing to do with quality schools. Dr. Everett Williams, the first African-American superintendent for New Orleans schools, expressed his frustration about school politics at the end of his term. There is a tremendous amount of political pressure exerted on school administrators and school board members to favor certain vendors over others. History has shown that sometimes educational leaders have been able to withstand such pressures and make proper decisions, as at other times they have sold the trust of their office to the highest bidder.
I would ask all stakeholders, all persons interested in public education today in New Orleans as well as in the future, to pay less attention to governance and governing structure. It's less about structure as it is about equality of education in terms of parental involvement, quality teachers, motivated students, sufficient community resources, teacher salaries, safe, clean, modern, buildings.
My name is Al Kenedy with the Midlo Center for New Orleans Studies at the University of New Orleans. Many of the materials used in this film came from the Orleans Parish School Board collection that is housed in the Louisiana and Special Collections Department of the Earl K. Long Library at UNO. This is a very rare collection, perhaps one of a kind in the United States. It was started in 1982, and if all the boxes were put end to end, it would extend the length of more than 5 football fields. That's all New Orleans public school history. Now, the important part of this collection is that all the material that was placed here prior to Katrina was saved. While many homes and schools suffered, this collection remained intact and allowed us to present a history of the public schools from 1841 because all of the records were available. So we're asking you, those of you who were involved with public schools, those of you who taught in them and attended them and worked in them, to consider leaving your materials and donating them to the University of New Orleans to be a part of this important collection. For more information, call the reference desk of the Louisiana and Special Collections Department in the Earl K. Long Library at 280-6544. Thank you.